this video tutorial we're going to demonstrate the accuracy of Touch7, and by that we mean that what you see on the screen in Photoshop is not always what you think is going to be true when it comes out in printing. It's kind of hard to explain without actually going through this step by step. So first of all, we're going to take this image here and we're going to generate a separation for printing, say for example on a digital press. Now, most digital presses have the orange ink in there. The reason we have the different colours is because different devices have different inks. For example, HP Indigo has orange, green and violet, whereas the Xerox iGen has the red, green and blue. So it's different inks for different devices. Now let's just focus on the orange and red. I can make this red dress out of CMYK and spot orange, or I can make it CMYK and spot red. Both of these colours target the same masking, the same red-orange colour space. So it'll be in the jacket, the belts, etc. and in the lips. So first of all, I'm just going to generate that orange spot colour. It goes through the image, it does the calculations, and it finds everything that it can that's going to be clipped out when it prints out as CMYK. And that's all I have to do. Just leave it as that. Now from there, I press the orange SCR button. What that does is it says, SCR stands for source colour removal, or remove the colour from the source file. The source file is your original RGB or CMYK. So what it's done here, let me turn off that orange separation. You can see that red dress has got like a pale magenta-y kind of colour. It's losing some of the colour, and that's fine. Now the other thing is that when you're viewing an image that's an RGB and a spot colour, the visual colour that you see on the screen is actually wrong, because RGB is an additive colour space, spot colours are subtractive, so you're not going to see the two opposing colour spaces at the same time. What you're actually seeing is, because a spot colour is known as subtractive colour, it's saying subtract this colour from the preview on the screen. Now that's nothing to do with Touch7, that's the way Photoshop is. You just want to point that out, so when you make a separation you go, that doesn't look right. It's because of the way Photoshop works, not Touch7. To explain this, let me just convert that now over to LAB. LAB is basically your all-encompassing colour space. So by going from RGB to LAB, I'm not going to lose any of my colour data. Whereas if I went from RGB to CMYK, it's going to reduce the colour space down into the CMYK and it will flatten it a little bit. Okay, so in LAB. So we see this image now on the screen, it looks much different. So faded image that's had the colour removed and the orange overprint. Now you might look at that and go, I like that, that's nice, bold, punchy, it's giving this high definition kind of look to the image, but that's not true for colour. And the reason being is that Photoshop doesn't handle multicolour profiles. And if you think about this, when you're working inside Photoshop, what are your options? Your colour mode is RGB, CMYK, LAB or grayscale, etc. It doesn't have RGB plus spot, doesn't know how to load in the profiles for your press. I mean, where is the loading the profile in that says I've got an HP Indigo orange to this certain formulation? How can it show you that colour on the screen correctly? It cannot. Therefore what you see isn't true to what you get on the press. And to demonstrate that, let me just turn that back into the original RGB plus the spot colour. I'm going to duplicate this image. So that one, let's pin this duplicate image on the right hand side. Let's just move the plugin out of the way now. Okay, so we've got these two people here. Both of them are identical images at the moment. So on the image on the left, I'm going to make that CMYK plus the spot colour. So that's what Photoshop tells me it should look like. Now without converting to CMYK, on the image on the right, I'm going to select all of the channels together and I'm going to merge the spot channel into the RGB. So it takes that spot channel and recombines it with the original image. Okay. So now when we look at the design, which image looks like it's a bright red, reddy orange dress and which looks like it's a very dark oversaturated red? So basically the image on the right is going to be more true to what you get on the press because it's taking that spot colour and merging it, compared to this one that's trying to give you a visual of what it should look like. And that's the difference, the visual difference between the two is quite striking. So what we want to do now is I'm just going to get rid of that image there. You reopen it up. That's the original image. So what I want to do now, two lots of images. Okay, so you now have two images. You have the original RGB image on the right hand side of the screen. So this lady here, she is the original RGB. And this image here is the RGB image that I created using the Touch7 separation. Now, to show you how accurate these two are, I'm going to select everything on that original RGB image. Okay, and just to prove it's the original RGB image, I can open up my history. It's the original RGB file and nothing done to it. I'm going to copy that image, and I'm now going to close that one down. So I've now got my other image, which is the one where I'd merged my spot channel. Okay, this time I'm going to paste that other original image over the top. So I'll probably need my layers open here to show you. So this one on the top, original RGB. One on the bottom, Touch7. So I'm now going to switch off and on the two. Do you see any changes in the image? That's Touch7. That's the original RGB. Touch7, RGB. Absolutely 100% perfect to the true original image based on the image separation. So that's just to prove the point. We can take an RGB image, separate it into that spot color, and if we recombine that spot color, it gives us back to the original RGB image. That therefore proves that the image separation technology is true and perfect, and therefore what you see on the screen is correct based on if you merge that separation in. But like I said, Photoshop won't show you that color correctly if you don't merge it. It's just a little tip and a trick to give you to see what the correct color is. But the main point of this is really just to prove a point that if I take this image here and I go through my image separation, I have my original image. Let's just try and focus on sort of like some tonal areas. So original image switched on, original image switched off, switched on, switched off, switched on, switched off, and there is no change to the image. That proves that the image separation tools from Touch7 are 100% perfect. Separating the image is easy, creating the separations is easy, getting it onto press should be easy. Okay, so I hope that explains the accuracy of the Touch7 system, and have a little try around for yourself. But as I mentioned before, this is really all about just trying to make sure that what you've seen on the screen is true, because if I see this color on the screen, it doesn't look right. I merge the color in with the image, looks correct. It's just the way Photoshop works. It's not a problem with Touch7. Unfortunately, it's just the preview system inside Photoshop. Again, just to re-push that out, this is why we recommend the Touch7 soft proofing solution, because you can load your press profiles in there and it will show you the color for that ink. Okay. Any questions or concerns, give us a shout at support@touch7.co.